1. I go to a graduate school in a city that's adjoined to a university-run hospital. As such, there's a bank just up the street that a lot of students, doctors, nurses, locals, and patients use all the time. However, the area around the campus is a bit dangerous with occasional gang violence, robberies, etc. I had received an email from campus police this week, warning us that the very bank I'm talking about had been robbed just that week, and no weapons were involved. Unlike the movies and games, bank robberies are more or less handing someone a piece of paper saying you're robbing them, and per policy they comply with your demands. So the guy who robbed them made a quick getaway even though the police response times are usually pretty good around campus. Now for the story. I had just taken a quick break from my work in my lab and went to the bank to manage my money to make sure my financial aid disbursement had hit my account and transfer it to savings. I'm not a fan of mobile banking. And then withdraw some cash to hit one of the nearby food trucks. There's a small line and I'm behind a brown-haired lady, EM, with a baby stroller, and a small kid at her side. The stroller was for the kid. A tall man with scrubs on, probably an RN from the hospital or someone who worked in the School of Dentistry. A lankier-looking guy who kind of smelled all the way from the end of the line, and a guy at the teller taking a while to make a withdrawal. EM is talking on speakerphone to what I can only assume is an assistant from her job that has a list of HR complaints stacked as tall as they were, because EM would occasionally yell insults like, "You did what, you stupid shit?" Or, "If I were as dumb as you, I'd be praying every day to thank God for your job because clearly he would have to be involved for you to have that job." It was very annoying to everyone except the teller and the guy making the withdrawal. The guy finally finishes at the teller and the line moves up. EM finishes her phone call and the guy ahead of her and I both sighed a little bit. EM then asks the man in front of her if she could cut ahead of him. "Excuse me, I'm in a hurry and I have to make a withdrawal and run home. I have to get some work done and then get my son to his swimming lessons." The guy replies, "Sorry, but I have to get back as soon as possible. These scrubs I'm wearing aren't for fun." EM starts making a fuss, and I was honestly distracted from what was happening at the teller. As EM was ranting about her work and kids, spouting things like, "You wouldn't know the hardships of motherhood. You think you're the only one with a hard job. Try being a parent with a job." The lanky man at the teller had apparently slipped the teller a note demanding money. The note didn't say anything about a weapon, and the banker kind of just went through the steps they were supposed to per policy. They didn't look frightened or make a scene, so I was none the wiser until after the fact. The lanky man left the bank with a substantial amount of money, tucking it away in his pants as he left. He then started running up the street, but I didn't care too much. It's the city, people do weird shit. Karen starts trying to barge her way to the front of the line, but is completely ignored by the staff as they went on about their business behind the counter. After EM demanded to speak to a manager, police showed up. The clerk gave them a description of the man and points out the direction he had run off to. All but 2 officers headed out, while the 2 at the bank start asking questions. I realized what had happened by this point, but EM was not so quick on the uptake. EM started grabbing one of the officers and demanded that they force the bank teller to let her make a withdrawal, saying it was illegal and they should be arrested, throwing in the occasional comments like, "You have no idea who you're talking to," and others along the lines of, "I'm a big deal, so arrest this pleb and let me leave." The officer informs her that she is a witness to a bank robbery and will need to give them her statement before she can do anything. Additionally, the bank would be temporarily closing. EM starts melting down at this point and goes off in a tirade about how she needed her money, and this was all illegal. Oh shit, the bank got robbed. How there couldn't have been a robbery because she was there the whole time and nothing had happened. And how her son was going to miss his swimming lessons all because the stupid bank and incompetent officers couldn't do their jobs. Lipping back to her, "I'm a mom and I have a job and it's very hard," comment she made earlier. She even threatened to sue the officers and the bank for traumatizing my little angel. Meanwhile, the kid was just quietly freaking out, not knowing what was going on. At this point, I just talked to the other officer and started filling out a form with my contact information and a written testimony of what had happened. I left the bank, and the last I saw of EM reminded me of a tomato because of how red her face had gotten. I mean that quite literally, because her face was stark red from the sheer rage she felt and all the shouting. The officer she was yelling at was one of the most professional people I've ever seen. The guy should have probably been a hostage negotiator with how calm he managed to keep while talking to EM. The next day we received the email from campus police about the incident. Everyone was fine, and I went about my day with an interesting story to tell my friends over a drink. The bank actually changed locations due to the robberies. It's only been a short while, but they're already out of the building completely. 2. This took place not long ago during a youth football tournament for 7 to 9-year-old kids. My son is on the same team as the son of the entitled parent, so I was present with a lot of other moms and dads. Cast in this story, EP Mike, his son Luke, our coach Thomas, opponent coach Dave, teammate Jonas. Mike is the kind of parent you don't want to have on a football ground. That's soccer for you Americans. He is the reason they had to put out rules for parents watching their kids play. Unfortunately. Luke is a pain-in-the-ass kid. He plays very good, but also is an egotistic and selfish player. He doesn't pass the ball to players in better positions. He shouts at his teammates when they don't perform well, doesn't run back for defense, or just because he wants to while he's doing nothing of the above. When the team loses, he blames all the other kids but never himself. After our team narrowly lost a game, Luke came back to our team's place in the shadows and wasn't satisfied while others just took the game apart and looked for the next one. In his anger, he tells his father that Dave said to him during the game that he should stop diving on any occasion and stand the F up and play on. Luke falls easily sometimes, but is always too obvious that nothing happened, but about this situation can't say because I wasn't present at the pitch. Mike gets angry about this and goes to Thomas and tells him to go to the other coach and put him on the spot and settle the issue immediately. Thomas gets a little mad and says to Mike that he always complains about others, shouting orders from the sideline to the kids, while he as a coach said something else and interrupts and confuses the kids, and that he won't go to the other coach. He says it was just a game, it's over, and we shouldn't discuss every single action that happened during the game. The kids should have fun, and that Mike takes everything too seriously. There is no game where he remains calm. Mike of course wasn't satisfied with Thomas's answer. So when Mike sees Dave coming along with his team as he's leaving the pitch, Mike runs right to him and aggressively asks what he's thinking attacking his son. Dave is completely surprised because he doesn't know what Mike wants, and who he is, and what he's supposed to have done. Mike points out what Luke told him. Luke comes along and says Jonas heard it as well, because he played on the same side as a midfielder while Luke played striker. Jonas said he didn't hear anything at all from Dave. Also, the other kids didn't notice it. Dave said he didn't need to talk to any of our players at all. Mike nonetheless shouts that he demands an apology from Dave to his son. He didn't get it because nothing happened, and Dave wouldn't take his shit. Luke is getting more and more unpleasant with the situation. He noticed that his plan, if there was one at all, didn't work out, and he's being seen as a liar more and more because no one heard a thing. Mike goes into rage mode and is angry at Thomas, Dave, and Jonas now. In the end, he didn't get what he wanted. He leaves Dave alone and drags Luke with him to the locker room. Luke had to leave the place mid-tournament. Also, Mike resigned Luke from the club right on the spot. He and his wife left the WhatsApp group from the football team a couple of minutes after this. To get to their car, they had to walk past all the practicing teams. You could see that Luke wasn't okay with leaving the team and that he wanted to stay. Mike was still angry and was talking loudly to his son, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. After they left, Thomas told us that Mike was once almost thrown off the pitch during a game last winter because of his behavior. Also, the family is neighbors with some of the other parents who were present, and they had a street party that very day. Mike was arguing all night about what happened at the tournament, and had only bad words for almost everyone involved. 3. We're from a country where there are lots of stray animals. There is a rule among an organization, Animal Activists, let's shorten it to OAA, that forbids roaming pets, meaning pets are to be kept strictly indoors, and outdoor pets are considered strays regardless of microchips or collars. That is only applied to the OAA, not recognized by the law, but laws here don't protect animals much in the first place. OAA has become its own animal police. Once they act, unless it causes serious damage, the real police just chill. When I say OAA, you can imagine those Karen types who post lots on social media about the struggles of being parents, feeders, and rescuers, and complain about how evil human beings are. My friend's cat, a beautiful black Maine Coon mix named Mavis, broke out from a loose mesh and went missing for 2 weeks. She put up posters and social media posts, searched high and low, and finally found it when somebody notified her that they saw Mavis's photo on the OAA group among rescued cats for adoption. She then tried to contact OAA, but they refused to return it to her, saying that she had failed as an owner, and exposed it to the dangers of the outside and proceeded to block her. She tried to call the police, but at the rate they were going, it's likely going to be either forgotten or take months. I decided to take action myself while my friend tried to bring it to social media and other animal organizations for help. Figuring these EPs from OAA would screen Mavis's adopters more carefully now that the owner has shown up, I contacted OAA and offered to adopt another cat, Sunday, the one in one of the adoption pictures kept beside Mavis, with one eye blind. They were delighted, as a one-eyed cat is harder to be adopted. We then exchanged messages and phone calls for long hours about info regarding Sunday's health and personality, what I should prepare and look out for, financial status, etc. Had to take it slow and detailed like a serious adopter. Finally, after 2 days, I requested to pay Sunday a visit, and they gave me the address of the fosterer where I could see if we were compatible. Sure enough, Sunday was in a cage right next to Mavis. It was almost too easy to ask for some time alone with her, grab Mavis and leave when the fosterer was not looking. I felt sorry for Sunday and the fosterer, who really seemed like a nice lady, but my goal was to get Mavis out, and I did. I blocked all the contacts from OAA, and my friend and her cat reunited. All information I gave was fake, and they could not track me down without calling the police, which I hoped remained useless. My friend could back me up anyway. She had all evidence that I'm just returning a lost cat to her rightful owner. The only regret was that Sunday was left behind after giving her false hope. I had no intention of adopting her in the first place. A day later, I received info that OAA has microchipped Mavis. She was not microchipped, but had a collar with her name on it, after her rescue, and they were looking for us online for theft and microchip fee, and cooked up a post of a sob story about an abused and abandoned cat, rescued but stolen by an evil fat woman. That's shrewd. Our reaction was like, WTF, who gave them the right to microchip somebody else's cat? And name it Moon? My friend kept quiet about it, and they had no proof that she had anything to do with it. The story got more elaborate later on, as those EPs from OAA posted more on social media, claiming that Mavis was a breeding cat for illegal selling of kittens, and was scheduled to be spayed before she was stolen. They managed to get an angry crowd swearing to find me and burn me at the stake. Me and my friend were like, what the actual hell? Mavis was spayed years ago. Their post was either BS or they were actually going to have Mavis opened up again? We managed to dig out Mavis's old pictures from when she was a kitten to the one showing her scar after sterilization. With some help from other people in social media, we told our story and toppled over OAA's BS, and, have to say, it was so satisfying to see the crowd's arrow turn, and the EPs from OAA ended up just complaining how everybody was mean to them when they were just trying to save the world. Another good news is that Sunday got adopted after this drama, and looking at her updates, it seems that Sunday is adjusting well. I could finally stop feeling guilty for leaving her behind. She deserved so much more, and she got it. 4. Hi there, I'm Ryan, and I just got my appendix out about a week ago. Middle of the night, I felt my stomach start to hurt very badly. I didn't really think anything of it because I thought it was just a stomachache, but later on my bowels started to hurt when I would take breaths in, so I started to panic. I couldn't sleep it off, and I've never felt this before, so I knew something was wrong. I woke up my mother and told her what was going on, and she knew right away what was going on because apparently this happened to my grandfather too, and we shared the same symptoms. She rushed me to the ER as fast as she could. When we arrived, we were told I was first on the treatment list to see what was going on, but I would have to wait for an hour since there were other patients being looked at, so I had to wait before I could get seen. Here comes EM and her sick son. She enters the waiting room, and right away puts me in a state of shock. What do you mean my son has to wait in a queue? There's no other sick people here. Sorry ma'am, this young man over here is first in the queue, so you'll have to wait for him. He doesn't even look sick. Look at my poor baby boy. The baby boy looks like he was a minimum of 14. He's so pale, why isn't he the priority? I'm sure that boy over there is faking his sickness. He looks fine. I look at her dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that a woman like her exists. I look over at her son, and I can tell he wishes that someone else had taken him to the ER instead of his mom. I'm the type of person that doesn't like to talk bad about people, so I stand up and start to walk over to her and say, "Are you kidding me? I've been waiting here for over an hour, just breathing hurts me. What makes you think that your son is more important than me? My appendix is infected, I might fucking die. I don't like waiting here either, lady, but that's just the reality of it." "How dare you talk to me like that? You standing up just proves that you're perfectly fine. If it hurts to breathe, how can you talk to me like that?" She starts to come up close to me. She keeps rambling about how I'm faking it, saying I'm just doing it to get high off painkillers and morphine. While saying this, she's pushing me into a corner of the room. I'm starting to panic because I don't have the strength to really resist, because I'm lacking a bunch of sleep, and she's pushing me on my stomach. Because of her height, she's pushing on the part where it hurts the most, so I can't really fight back. Then my savior, aka security, comes into the waiting room and stops the lady from attacking me. "What's going on here?" "This brat is faking sickness and is stopping my son from getting treatment." I'm crying a bit now. "This lady attacked me because she's crazy and thinks I'm faking my appendix infection." "Alright, I've heard enough. Lady, you and your son will have to wait outside this room to get treatment for your son." "But he's..." "No buts, you assaulted a patient. If you don't want to wait outside the room, I'll escort you outside and you'll need to get treatment from another hospital. Do you understand?" The lady says nothing and walks out the room. I thank the security guard and he walks off. I get called for my checkup, and it was confirmed that I had an infection in my appendix and needed surgery ASAP. I got hooked up to an IV and go back to the waiting room where I see the sick son is. He comes up. "Hey man, I'm sorry." "What? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. You'll need to be more specific. I've been awake for 22 hours and I can barely remember anything right now." "For my mom and what she said. She can be a psycho sometimes. Sorry you had to be on the receiving end of it." "Oh yeah, that girl. Don't worry about it, man. I feel worse for you having a mom like her. Whatever you have, hope you get better." And that's it. Never heard from either of them again, and told my mom later what happened. We had a small laugh. Got taken to the operation room, and they took the appendix out, so now I'm just recovering. Five. Cast EP X Pro Shake Picture. Kay, her kid, and finally me. The fishy of the sea, aka yours truly. So to give a little backstory. I work at a popular fast food chain. At the time of this story, we were particularly busy because schools had just gotten out for summer vacation. Along with that, we were short-staffed because a few crew called out for the day, so I was the only person in drive-thru taking orders and handing out the food and whatnot. Usually during rushes like this, we have 2 people. It wasn't really an issue. I had transferred from a store that was twice as busy at all times of the day, so I'm quick on my feet, and I'm used to multitasking, plus I drink copious amounts of caffeine. So I take EP's order. Nothing too big, just a sundae and a large chocolate shake. She's being a bit rude and snappy during her order-taking process, and drives off when I'm mid-repeating her order to confirm. So I was already over her, but whatever. I make her order, and after paying at the first window, she arrives in all her bright yellow Hummer Karen-looking glory. After my usual greeting, I hand her the sundae, which she gives to Kay, then give her the shake. For whatever reason, this dumb EP decided to grab it and squeeze it in her Sasquatch hand, so that the lid pops off, and then proceeds to start yelling and blaming me that I didn't put the lid on right. She hands me back the shake and demands I put a new lid on, so I did. And when I hand it back, she squeezes it again, and a little minuscule bit of shake lands on the outside of her door. She then proceeds to go batshit yelling and screaming. I had to take the next order at my speaker because they had been waiting too long, whilst I was dealing with the EP, so I just told EP, "Sorry, I'll help you in 1 sec," and turn away. Boy oh boy did she not like that. I'm taking the order when suddenly I get struck with a cup, and get covered chest to toes in cold chocolate shake. She's seething and yelling, "Hello, you need to clean this!" I don't know how I stayed straight-faced and composed during this entire situation, but after the initial shock and with my best customer service voice I said, "Ma'am, that was unnecessary. I was going to be with you in a second." EP then proceeded to scream some more about how I kept her waiting and I have a terrible attitude. and that I need to make her another one for being so rude. I'm honestly surprised she didn't demand a manager. I was so ready to hit her with the good old, "You fool, I am the manager." Anyways, I just quietly start processing her refund because there is no way I'm giving her another shake, and she looks shocked when I give her the money back for her L shake. She begins yelling that she doesn't want a refund, she wants a shake, and that I need to go outside and clean her entire car. I calmly tell her that I'm not going to give her another one, and I give her a small stack of napkins and say sorry once more. She's fuming, basically foaming at the mouth. She demands once more that I go outside and clean her precious car. When I once again refuse, she demands and keeps demanding more and more napkins for this tiny spill. I basically gave her an entire sleeve of napkins, like imagine a pack of napkins, to clean the tiny little spill before she finally drives off in a huff. The entire time I was still covered in shake, there's shake all over the ground, and Kay was just quietly eating her sundae like she's used to EP doing this. I had to find the nearest co-worker to hand the headset to so I could go in back and attempt to wash off as much as I could, and try to not cry from being so angry and shocked that someone like that actually exists. My higher-up manager finally pops up from nowhere and checked the footage to get her license plate. But I never heard anything after that. I have so many stories from working at this fast food company for 2 years, but this one is definitely near the top of the list. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents, IPOP, number 15. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I will keep this outro short, I think, today. I'm starting to feel like Melty Freezer again. Not incredibly hot, mind you. 20? Yeah, fine. Although apparently there's another heat wave on the way. So, that might be good if it's a day I'm off. Anyway, I hope you're all having a nice weekend, and if you're not, that your next day of rest comes soon. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.